This is a computer I paid $600 for. It holds an i5 13400F paired with an RTX 4060 Ti, but the build is indeed used, and it definitely came with a set of challenges. And not to mention, is a pre-built from Thermaltake. So how exactly did I get this build and how much do I plan to profit on it? Well, before I talk about any profit, we must start from the beginning. So 2 days ago, I saw this listing on Facebook Marketplace. Now, as you can see, it was initially for the whole setup and he had it listed for $750. Now, the one thing that caught my eye was honestly the 4060 Ti, and the i5 was fairly new. It was 13 gen. So I was like, cool. It seems like a good price. I went there, I talked to the people. There were some Dominicans, and I speak Spanish, but their Spanish is like way faster, so they thought I was like, I could only speak English, so I was talking to them like the first 5 minutes in English. And then I was like, I could speak Spanish too. And then they're like, yeah, oh, this. And they started asking me like a lot of questions about what I'm testing about the computer. And it was a pretty cool experience. They were nice people. Nevertheless, I concluded the computer was completely fine. I didn't find any issues with the tests I ran on it. And then I noticed that the guy was indecisive about selling the chair and the desk he had listed. And so I started noticing it early on, though. I was like, hey, I'd be willing to just buy the computer alone if that's what you're into. And then I was like, how much would you sell it for? And then like anytime you ask somebody for their price, they always want you to throw out an offer first. And that's because they don't want to take the risk of giving a price that is too high to the point where I don't want it anymore, or they don't want. It's just tough. Like with any negotiation, it's hard to throw out the first offer because even as a buyer, you don't know if you're gonna throw out an offer that's like way too low or way too high, and at the end of the day, they could have accepted a lower price. So it's always a weird predicament I'm in when people ask me to throw out an offer. So I thought a minute or two. Now that's one thing I struggled with and I'm still struggling with today, is giving myself time to think about things to really decide on a price that would work with me. So, and then I thought about it for a minute or two. I was checking out the computer, just looking around, making sure I didn't miss anything. And then I was like, all right, $600, that's $150 less from the whole. Now, the only thing that was really nice that I thought I could maybe make a profit on was the monitor. It wasn't a known brand or anything, but it was 180 hertz. So I was pretty good. I was like, hey, maybe I could make something out of this. But if he'd be willing to cut the price by $150, I don't really need the desk. I don't need the keyboard, mouse, none of that. And so he was like, cool. And then he was like completely fine. He wasn't let me think about this. So in my head, I'm like, I wish I would have thrown in a lower offer. But it is what it is. I got the computer for $600. Looking back, as always, in hindsight, everything looks so easy, but it wasn't. But I wish I had thrown out an offer for like $500, maybe $550, and off rip, he might have said no. But we'll cut to the chase. I'm here with the computer, and then right off rip, with any build I get, before I sell it, I have to go and clean it out myself. So that's exactly what I did, and we'll move on to the cleaning right now because the computer was definitely a bit dirty, and I'll tell you guys why while I'm cleaning it. So in most builds, I would have been done here. But then I started noticing that there was like some sticky dust that just wouldn't come off with the compressor. So that's when I just decided to go in and try to give it a deep clean with like a wet rag. And then I also decided to take out the graphics card, so just in case there was any of that icky stuff on there. It ended up being a good idea because there was definitely some stuff on there. So after all the cleaning was done in this clip, I actually took it upstairs, and then the next day when the lighting was better, I could kind of see the dust a bit better. And I got some rags along with some alcohol instead of regular water, and that seemed to take off this substance a lot easier, and luckily I got it pretty clean. So before I get started with testing video games, I usually like to test them on the fundamental parts using 3 benchmarks, including Cinebench, which right here I'm showing the score. It performed up to speed to what the CPU should have been. And then I like to use OCCT for the CPU and RAM as well. And then I ran it for like 17 minutes here. On top of these clips, I also tested for Mark along with Heaven 4.0 in person, so I didn't go through the trouble of doing it again. So in Fortnite, I actually averaged 217 frames per second in creative while being in performance mode in 1080p. In the Fortnite Battle Royale though, I averaged a little less at 192. So in Marvel Rivals, I played on 1080p low with no frame generation, and I averaged around 170 frames per second. And honestly, I was just spamming buttons here. I never played this game before, but it was pretty cool at the end. And the last game I tested was actually Warzone. I put everything on low and still 1080p like in the previous clips. There's nothing too special, I just wanted to get the most performance out of it.
All stations, a jailbreak is fucking bullshit game!
Fuck! So now we get to the interesting part, which is profit. So you guys know off the beginning of the video that I paid $600 for the build. Now ideally, the price that I would love to sell it for is $800. There are a couple things holding me back from that price. Starting off that it is a pre-built, and this exact pre-built can be purchased brand new, pre-tax, for $1,000. So that alone is gonna stop people from considering this when they can just purchase brand new with the warranty, knowing that it will likely work. So likely I don't think I'm gonna sell it for $800, but you know, I'll list it at that price. But I've been in this game long enough to know that it will probably sell for $750. Now that would make it a profit of $150, which is not bad. I've made a lot more, and I'm used to making a lot more than that. But in this weird market we're in, with all the GPUs dropping and all that, I didn't want to take as much risk because I don't know how much the new GPUs will affect the price. So I've been kind of slow to buy a couple things, but that is the reason I've been kind of switching my criteria to lower end builds, and I currently have like 3 lower end builds that I haven't even posted. So we're making 150, right? Now, I'm not completely sure how much time I put into the build, but it's hard to give you guys an idea because I kind of mix in content creation with the amount of time I spent cleaning, picking it up and all that. But let's say I put in around 6 hours or so. 6 hours of non-stop cleaning, picking it up, testing. Probably more like 4 to 5, let's say. 4 to 5 hours. So if we do the math, 4 to 5 hours, okay, 150 divided by, let's be generous here, let's put 5 hours, 3, 15, and that gives you an idea, so 30 an hour. But there's another thing that I have to consider, which is the gas I paid, of course. And then my truck is I drive around in a truck, and it's a pretty, it's not necessarily the most efficient vehicle out there, and it has like some heavy rims, so that only adds to it. So I would say probably $10 for gas if I'm being honest. So that gives us 30. That makes us $150 profit. But our actual profit comes out to like 140. And so we put in around 3 to 5 hours. We made around 30 per hour. Let's just say 25. So we're making around $25 an hour for building and buying and selling this PC, which is great for most people, not necessarily with me, but for now this is what I have, and I'm glad I got the video done. So yeah, that is the profit, and we'll move on to the outro. So if you made it this far, I appreciate your viewership, and the recent support on my last video has been amazing. I go into every YouTube video expecting like 5 to 50 views, and I try to make them better every time. And this last one kind of went crazy, so I can only thank you guys for that. And we'll try to get better, of course. So thank you for watching, and enjoy your day.